If you've been injured in a car accident in New York, what you do in the first 24 to 72 hours can directly impact three things: your health, your legal rights, and the amount of compensation that you're ultimately able to recover. And the reality is that most people unknowingly make critical mistakes early on that the insurance companies later use against them. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the things that you need to know in order to do things correctly and position your case properly. My name is Elke Mirabella. I'm the founder and managing partner of Mirabella Injury Lawyers in Ronkonkoma, New York. This is Personal Injury 101, Auto Accident Edition, based specifically on New York law and how these cases are actually handled in practice, not just theory. What to do immediately after an accident. Immediately after an accident, your priority is safety, but from a legal standpoint, you're also beginning to build your case in real time. So the first thing you must do is call 911. Even if the accident seems minor, having a police report creates independent documentation of the location, the parties involved, and the initial observations of fault. That report can often become one of the first pieces of evidence reviewed by insurance companies. Step 2, document everything yourself. Do not rely solely on the police report. You should be taking pictures and photos of vehicle damage at the scene from all angles. You should also take pictures of the roadway and intersection, traffic signs and signals. Include pictures of skid marks or debris. Include pictures of license plates and any visible injuries. It's important that you document this evidence because conditions change quickly. Vehicles are often moved. Scenes are cleared before the police arrive. Your photos will preserve what the scene looked like at the exact moment of impact. Step 3 is to identify witnesses at the scene. If someone saw what happened, get their name and their contact information. You'll need that later in the case. Because over time, memories fade, people become unavailable, and independent witnesses can become critical in a case with disputed liability. One critical warning I have for you is to never discuss fault at the scene. Even statements like, "I didn't see you," or "I'm sorry," can later be used against you in your case by the insurance company as an admission of fault. Medical treatment, the delay problem. This is where many cases are quietly damaged without the person even realizing it. After an accident, people leave the scene because they feel okay at first. They delay medical treatment because of it. But here's the reality: adrenaline masks pain. Injuries like whiplash, herniated discs, soft tissue damage, and even head injuries may not present symptoms for hours or even days following an accident. The legal impact of delaying your medical treatment gives insurance companies a tactical advantage. Insurance companies are trained to look for gaps in treatment. And when they see a delay, they argue that the injury was not serious. They argue that the injury wasn't caused by the accident. They also can argue that the injury developed later from something else, not from the accident. The most important thing I can tell you about seeking medical attention after an accident is to make sure you do it immediately, because seeking prompt medical care does two things. First, it protects your health, but it also creates a clear, documented link between the accident and your injuries. And that link is the critical value to your case. Understanding no-fault insurance in New York. New York operates under a no-fault insurance system, and this is one of the most misunderstood parts of auto accidents. Here's how it works. Your own insurance company, regardless of who caused the accident, covers medical treatment, a portion of lost wages, travel expenses to and from medical care, and other reasonable and necessary costs related to the accident. The key point here is that coverage is available immediately, and it exists so you can get treatment without worrying about upfront costs. People delay treatment because they're concerned about medical bills. But in New York, no-fault benefits are specifically designed to prevent that barrier. 2 separate claims. There are actually 2 parts to your case. The first is your no-fault claim. This is where your own insurance policy covers your economic losses, including your medical bills and your wages. The second part of your case is your personal injury claim. This is where you're putting a claim in against the car that hit you and caused the accident. And this is where you pursue compensation from the other driver's insurance for things like pain and suffering for your injuries, loss of enjoyment of life due to your injuries, long-term or permanent injuries. But, and this is crucial, you only access this second claim if your injuries meet New York's serious injury threshold. The serious injury threshold includes categories such as significant limitation of a use of a body part, permanent consequential limitation, and 90 out of 180-day impairment. This is why it matters. This is often the battleground of a case. Insurance companies focus heavily on arguing that your injuries do not meet this threshold, which is why medical documentation, consistent medical treatment, and objective findings found on MRIs and other diagnostic testing becomes critical. Insurance company tactics. This is where many people are caught off guard. Insurance companies are not neutral. They are financially motivated entities. Their goal is to minimize payouts, resolve cases quickly, limit long-term exposure. The things that insurance companies do early on is request recorded statements, ask leading questions to try and trap you, and attempt to lock you into a version of events that isn't necessarily true. They also offer early settlements for less than the true value of your case. Now, the reason why early settlements are dangerous is that at this stage, you don't typically know several things about your injuries or your case. First off, you don't know the full extent of your injuries yet. You also don't know whether you'll need future treatment. You don't know whether your condition will become permanent. And once you accept that early settlement, your case is over. You can't go back and ask for more. Common defense strategies that you should be aware of include arguing comparative fault, minimizing injury severity, using gaps in treatment against you, and claiming degenerative or pre-existing conditions. These cases are not just about what happened. They're about what can be proven and defended under scrutiny. Why legal guidance changes outcomes. A lawyer's role is not just administrative, it's strategic. A properly handled case involves coordinating medical evidence, identifying liability issues, managing insurance communications, anticipating defense strategies, and positioning the case for maximum value. Insurance companies evaluate cases differently when you're unrepresented versus when you have experienced legal counsel behind you building the case. And that's the difference that often translates directly into case value. Documentation, consistency, and case value. Your case is only as strong as what you can prove. That means attending medical appointments consistently, following treatment recommendations, keeping records, and documenting your injuries and your recovery. Gaps in treatment are basically an opportunity for the defense. The defense will argue, based on your failure to treat, that you weren't really injured, you recovered quickly, or your injuries weren't serious to begin with, even when that's not true. So consistency is not just medical, it's strategic in your case. Timing and strategy. There are deadlines in New York personal injury cases, but beyond deadlines, there are strategic timing decisions. When to begin negotiations, when to continue treatment, or when a case is ready for resolution. 2 mistakes to avoid: rushing too early for an early settlement or waiting too long without guidance. Both can reduce the value of your case. The reality is, small decisions made in the days and weeks following an accident can have a significant impact on your case, months and years later. So the goal is not just to handle the situation. The goal is to handle it correctly from the beginning. If you've been in an accident and you're unsure what to do next, it's always better to understand your options early rather than trying to fix mistakes later. If you found this helpful, follow for more content. And if you need guidance, contact Mirabella Injury Lawyers so we can evaluate your case.